Om, Om, Hari Om. Well, welcome everyone to our Sunday morning talk. The topic today is spiritual self-care. Om, Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvina Adhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh, dearly beloved, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings. Spiritual self-care. Of course, there's physical self-care, and that in itself can be very difficult sometimes, as I just experienced. There can be very difficult and trying moments trying to take care of yourself and your physical needs. So, what about spiritual self-care? Well, first we have to make the sincere effort to take care of our physical needs. Otherwise, it's just too distracting for us to practice any kind of spiritual efforts. So as we go forward, we look after our physical needs. We then begin to look into what are our spiritual needs. What is that we need to do for our spiritual self-care? Would anyone care to speculate about what the first thing we must do is? Okay, the answer that I have is we must do what is necessary to recollect who we truly and genuinely are. Now, this usually involves some sort of spiritual practices so that we turn inward, as is said by the scriptures, as is said by John O'Donohue, as is said by a man named Needleman in his philosopher's book on the soul. We are the soul, we are the Atman. But until that is a reality for us, then it's very difficult for us to move beyond the superficial, the everyday. So we move ahead by turning within and finding our true selves. Now, this is not new to you. This is something that you've heard over and over and over as time has gone on. But when we actually do it, something really revolutionary occurs. We recollect, we remember who we truly are. And in that recollection is all the truth that is, as Jesus said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all wisdom and all knowledge shall be given you. Nothing that was hidden will not be revealed. This is what I meant by these truths are in the scriptures of many traditions. So when Jesus says, nothing that is hidden will not be revealed, as we dive deep within ourselves by turning within, we discover more and more and more of the truth of the infinite being that we truly are. This is the truth as we understand it from all of the great teachers. Yes, dear. Will you look after the floor? You'll see what happened. Look after the floor. I'm sorry to ask you to do it, but it needs to be done. Both in here and in the bathroom. Thank you, dear. So as we move forward with the truth of our being, we grow and grow and grow. And this leads to ever better understanding of what it means to care for ourselves spiritually. It means letting go of many things that were obstacles for us, that were distractions for us. It means ever more emphasis on keeping holy company, as we're doing this morning. So before I go on, is there anything that anyone would like to contribute about what's being said, what's been said? And please do come forward.
I'll answer. I was
Yes,
just going to answer your question. What is the first thing, or what might be the first thing that we need to do? And your answer is spot on, except I might add that before you can do that, the recollectedness, you need to make space, time and space to do that.
Yes, indeed. And what do you mean by make space, Cindy?
We are all living in this world, as we know, that keeps speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're like on a hamster wheel trying to catch up.
Yes.
And when we really just want to get off that hamster wheel, and a lot of us are making progress, but sometimes we get so caught up in all the things we have to attend to that we put off spiritual practice, or just sitting for a few minutes on a regular, like, things are real busy for me right now, but I at least sit quietly the first thing every day. And if I miss that, I feel it the rest of the day.
Amen. Amen.
But
and that's a very
it's a
issue.
discipline thing, though. I mean, it is for me, because I can say I don't have time, but that's all we do have is time. And self-care, it really is self-care to
It is.
some time every day. And it's best if it's at the same time every day, because then
Yes, and it's best if it's in the morning.
yeah. And not to do it because, oh, I need to do my spiritual practice and tick that off my to-do list, but because it's connecting with what's real before you go out into the day, and it will carry with you and it will affect how you do the rest of your day.
Amen. And the key word is connecting. Connecting is what we do to what is real. And as we find what is real, then it goes forward more and more clearly into that recollectedness of our infinite being. Thank you, Cindy.
May
Oh, well said. Anything else from anyone?
Yes, please. May I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
Having walked on a very rough patch of physical pain until now, until it happened, I used to be very grouchy and very sad and just totally miserable, to be honestly putting it. But then, just when I was sitting, as Cindy said, at regular hours, first in the morning and before dinner, meditating, saying prayers. That time, it just hits home. Why am I doing this? I had been doing it, of course, I still do. But now, I think there is a something clicked inside me that all this physical suffering and pain that I went through, and I still have some, is the biggest lesson for me to go inward, as you say. I was doing it physically, but not really internalizing it. And this sickness gave me, as a, what you call a slap on the face or awakening or whatever. But now I realize that first and foremost, I am this, my inner being, that God's way of sending misery is to awaken yourself to your true self. So
Amen.
that way, physical ailment is not to be resented, but to be appreciated as God's gift.
This is what Holy Mother said, yes. In time you will come to see all suffering as a blessing. But that's a long, long way
Yes.
for most of us
Yes.
because of the way of being that you talked about.
Yes.
So thank you, Uma. That was very, very well said. And it narrated your way forward. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Gaurav here.
Yes, Gaurav.
Well, I tend to ceaselessly pray to the Divine Mother, even when I'm doing any activity. If I'm working, I always have that, I don't know, ceaseless praying without actually sitting down and meditating, and that helps a lot.
Good.
Tends to, yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. And of course, that ceaseless prayer is what Chaitanya advises. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory, and it could be masculine or feminine. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. What two great promises, that if you do indeed do what Gaurav said and what Uma was alluding to and Cindy was talking about, if you do these things, the mirror of the heart will be wiped clean, and then you see very clearly reflected the true being of who you are. and the quenching of the mighty forest fire, worldly lust. These are all the distractions. So it is the spiritual practice that makes this all a reality for us. It's the only thing that makes our true being a reality for us. So this is spiritual self-care, to do what is necessary to where we really and truly understand who we are. Anything else from anyone? Triguna, we're not hearing you.
I'll unmute.
There you go. So, Triguna, what were you going to say? Well, apparently she elected not to say anything. So, anyone else? Anything at all that you'd like to contribute to this discussion? All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Spiritual self-care starts with physical self-care, taking care of our physical being so that it doesn't interfere by its demands and its activities with our ability to do spiritual practices. This is difficult. It can be very difficult, and it can be very time-consuming. As Uma pointed out, we have illness, we have suffering, but we must not let that deter us. So in some way, we find ourselves a way to be at least content with it, if not grateful. Then we move on. We move on to some sort of spiritual practice. Meditation, of course, prayer, contemplation, meditation. This is the sequence. And when we do indeed turn inward and manage to keep our attention turned inward for a period of time, then we find this true original being, our true original nature. Now, of course, we've discussed over months and months and months the ways of the four yogas. So I'm not going to go over those again this morning. The four yogas each have their way to do this. But the idea is, if you wish to be free of mental, not free of, but at least to have some mastery over your mental and emotional and physical suffering, you must turn within. So anything else from anyone? Please, if there's something you'd like to say, please say it. All right, dears, how are we doing for time? What is the hour? Somebody know what time it is?
It's 11:26.
11:26, that's correct.
26. There's still plenty of time. So we can end this session anytime. There's no reason we have to go the full hour. But if there's something more you'd like to say, we'd really like to hear it. This is a congregation. It is a group of people who come together for this, due to the desire to be with one another and to share. So anyone else, anything you'd like to say? Margaret, I've been waiting to hear from you. Anything at all? Apparently not.
He's on different computer.
I'll throw something in there.
Please.
I was talking about this last night. This is something you're familiar with, and a few other people might be, from John O'Donohoe, Hugh, I don't know, however you say his name. This quote that's really been a lot on my mind, which is the soul, or we would say the Atman, but he says the soul is not in the body. The body is in the soul.
Yes.
And when you look at that in the context of this spiritual self-care, caring for the body mind complex becomes more important to spiritual practice, because it's hard to practice when our body and or mind, which is the same thing, is misbehaving. And we can't control that, but we can definitely affect it through
Yes.
but I love that quote. I keep sharing that with people because it's a little mind-blowing, I think.
Say it again.
The soul is not in the body. The body is in the soul.
Yes. It is the soul that is the Atman, as Cindy said, that's the other word, the word we tend to use. And that is the creator being. That is that great creative force that generates the universe and all of us and all of our place in it. As Swami Sarvadevananda says, mother's intentions, using the feminine, mother's intentions are impenetrable. But that doesn't mean that there aren't intentions. And so the body being within the soul, the soul is created, and in some mysterious way, it generates this stardust spacesuit of ours. And in that mystery is one of the great wonders for us to contemplate as we do our spiritual practices. That we have this body-mind complex that has the capacity to go beyond the immediate and into the transcendental. And when we do that, then we know something. We recollect the truth. And it is so glorious and so reassuring, as again Uma and Cindy pointed out, so glorious and reassuring that it puts everything else in its place.
Brother Gaurav here, I kind of want to tag along with whatever we're talking. Is the more you start realizing that you're not doing anything, you start letting go of things. And the
Yes.
bliss that sets in is permanent. You're like in a different world. Means it's not, I cannot explain it until you experience it.
No, you're doing a wonderful job, Guru. And again, it is that sense that the body-mind complex is not what's doing. It's the result doing of the soul or the Atman. And when it gets put in its place that way, it is just splendid. Thank you, Guru. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Bhagirath. So glad to hear from you.
can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
In the first place, we are very happy to have you back. body-wise, it is a diminished self. But that itself is a message that body is going to be continuously on the path of degeneration and dissolution. But at the same time, as a physician, many times I felt that you will be a good physician only if you have suffered from a disease yourself, because your perspective then completely changes. The same thing applies to our spiritual self too, that the body has to suffer to recognize the value of the soul a lot more. So what Cindy said is right, whether the body is in the soul or soul is in the body, but the soul can be silenced, the body cannot be silenced. It is the nature of the body, the moment it is defunct in any area, even a small little pimple on the back, and your entire attention goes on that one. And therefore, we have to learn how to control that. We have to learn that no matter what, the body is going to suffer. But I remember that when I was in India as a medical officer, we had many nurses from Kerala. And one of them, one time, cut herself in the process of taking care of the patient. And she started bleeding, and it was a novice. She says, "No, I am not suffering. To suffer is to see Jesus. And I see Jesus." Now, that kind of attitude to me is phenomenal. And once you do that, you will not be afraid. You will not have the fear of the ailments of the body, because they are going to come. Whether you welcome them or you don't welcome them, they are going to come in everyone's life. And to have pain also is a wonderful thing. Like I said, I was reading this book, The Gift of Pain, by a British surgeon. And one time, after coming from a long journey in the train, he could not feel in the right lower leg. And he was working with leprosy patients all the time. So he says, "Oh my God, I got leprosy. I lost my sensation. What am I going to do now? Tomorrow morning, should I see my wife and children or not? Would they get leprosy if I see them?" Etc., etc., etc. This is the way the mind works. It distracts your spirituality by paying over attention to the body. And then he found out that there was nothing more but a sustained effect of a long journey in the train, that the leg had only gone to sleep. So he was all right. He said, "Now I enjoy my pain." So I think this Vedanta is of very, very practical value to all of us. It is not a theoretical talk. It is a practical experience. And if you go through that experience of a bodily ailment, you have to thank God. What about Ramakrishna? With a throat cancer, my God, nothing could be more painful than that one. You cannot speak, you cannot eat, you cannot even breathe properly. And yet, when he was told that, "Why don't you eat something?" he said, "There are thousands of mouths which are being fed by mother. Why do I have to worry about my mouth?"
Yes.
Now that is hitting the very crux of the spirituality.
Very well said. Well, it is only through spiritual practice, through spiritual self-care, that the place and the concerns of the body can be put in proper perspective. Otherwise, as Bhagirath said, even a pimple on your back will overwhelm your ability to focus your attention. Thank you, Bhagirath, for all of that. And thank you for your kind words about being back. It is unspeakably joyous to be back with you. This has been a very difficult time for me. I never dreamt in my wildest dreams that something like this would happen. But a fractured hip led all the way to where I'm sitting right now, which is in Coventry Place, an assisted living place indicator that allows me to have what I need while I'm recovering my strength and my ability to function so that I can move back to the center. In the meantime, through the grace of a number of people, we're able to have these Zoom meetings. And so the Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday events, classes on Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, talks on Sunday, as far as can be told from here right now, those will all go forward. We had a good Saturday class yesterday. For those of you who attended, I think you'd agree.
I'd like to back way up. And as someone that's kind of, new to this and, some of these rituals and procedures are definitely not in my culture and in my family, I feel deficient on the actual know-how on the chants, the prayers, the pujas. I'm like, I don't know the ins and outs and the whys and the hows of everything necessarily on that level. So what I'd really like to see is like some type of actual training or instruction on those type of very basic and rudimentary things.
Well, Bhagavan Das, you took initiation from Swami Sarvadevananda. You were given a mantra and some instructions. Those will do you great good. And then just be patient, and over time, through participation in these other things, when we get back to the center and begin our routine of pujas and so on, you just attend and you will see what it is these things are. But they are definitely, as Swami Vivekananda said, they are secondary details. The first priority is to do the spiritual practices that were given to you by your Guru, Swami Sarvadevananda. That will open up so much for you over time. You say you're new to all this. Yes, you're relatively new to all this. But that doesn't mean that you aren't already making real progress. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here this morning. You wouldn't care about these things.
Well, it's that progress that makes me want to strive to perfect it even more.
Yes, exactly. And that is a priceless motivation that comes with the spiritual practice. The desire to recollect and be our infinite self. Because that infinite self is the generator of all this. And so it continues to invite us. As Bhagavad said, Sri Ramakrishna suffered horribly at the end of his life, but he never stopped issuing the invitation. If you read in the Gospel his conversations with Dr. Sarkar, you'll see exactly what I mean. He continued to invite Dr. Sarkar and others to the deep spiritual understanding of their true nature. So this invitation, as I said, it comes from Chaitanya, it comes from Rama, it comes from Krishna, it comes from Chaitanya, it comes from Shankaracharya, it comes from Lord Jesus Christ, and it comes from Sri Ramakrishna, the Holy Mother of Vivekananda.
Actually, brother,
Uh,
Umansi,
Yes,
continue.
Hello?
yes, go ahead.
Yes. May I add one more? Bhagavad Gita. Oh my gosh. Sri Krishna in second chapter, verses 55, 56. Atmanye atmana tushta. One under any circumstances can remain satisfied in this self by this self. That to me make such profound sense. When I was in bed and could do nothing other than pray, that until then I want to do this and that and all desires. And Krishna says, calm the desires and stay happy within yourself, by yourself. And that to me is Atman, what we are about, our Atman,
Yes,
our self. If we go
yes,
deep into self, it's like going into samadhi.
well, it is.
So pain is
Exactly what happens. That's where
yes,
this great recollection comes.
yes,
And there, as Sri Ramakrishna said, there are thousands of kinds of samadhi. There isn't just savikalpa and nirvikalpa samadhi.
yes.
There are thousands of kinds of absorption. That's what samadhi means. Absorption in the spiritual nature of reality.
So for me, Bhagavad Gita did the work, but Bhagavad Gita really led me to the correct understanding of who am I.
Yes. Well said, Uma. Well said. Now, Gaurav, you had something else?
Yes, brother. Yes, brother. This was again. I went to Belur actually, to India after 13 years. So it was fantastic, and I did do some research on Srima. She did mention about ceaseless prayer too. Actually, she said you can take my name whenever, pretty much all through the day, whenever you don't have to sit and meditate and stuff like that. So I found that weird resonance with the Pilgrim's book that you had mentioned. So
Yes, well, this business of you don't have to meditate. If you are wholeheartedly apply to the mother and just say, Mother, give me everything, she will comply. Sri Ramakrishna says he studied no scriptures. He studied no scriptures. Of course, he remembered everything he ever heard, but to make sense of it, there are so many scriptures, so much. He said the scriptures are a mixture of salt and sugar. Truth is half truth.
you have to realize things. Yes.
And so he said, apply to the mother. That's what he did. He just said to Mother Kali, Kali, give me everything I need to know. Give me everything I need to know. Not to some purpose, not so he could do his work. He didn't see it that way. Just give him everything he needs to know so that he is a fulfilled being, not a something less than fulfilled being. And this is where spiritual self-care leads us, to that fulfillment. But as was said before, we have to keep our priorities straight. And so we do what's necessary to allow us to pursue, to ask, to give ourselves over entirely to the mother. As Gaurav said, the mother said, simply by taking my name, that is asking of her, she is one with the truth. she is one with Sri Ramakrishna. So when she says this, we can take it seriously. But to be able to be wholehearted, there has to be some preliminary work. Otherwise, we won't ask with a complete wholeheartedness and trust that what we receive is the answer.
Thank you, brother. And just another note, Bilur is beautiful. His first time visiting,
Oh, yes.
and I would recommend to anybody who's in this spiritual journey with us that
Yes, anyone who goes to Kolkata, please do make the effort to get out to Belur Math. You will be so glad you did. Just visiting that temple there.
yes, it's absolutely I cannot explain. Means there's no word.
Of course you can. It goes beyond words.
Yes.
Just to go and sit in that temple
Yes.
and gaze on the image of Sri Ramakrishna there.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Brother Shankara, can you
Yes.
hear me?
I can, dear.
Namaste, and it is wonderful to have these classes back again. So thank you, despite everything you're going through, that you are doing this. I sort of thought of this, as we are talking about self-care and journey. The car analogy to me resonates that the point is it's to get from point A to point B. Some of us go using a Chevrolet or Tesla or Porsche, whatever. Some have used cars, and as long as we maintain I guess the engine well with the service and maintenance in a timely manner, the longer the vehicle will help us move from the points where we want to go. There may be some dents and scratches outside which we may choose to fix or not, but the engine, the key parts are what we need to take care of to keep us going, keep the car going longer. We may take the scenic route, sometimes we may get stuck on 285 traffic, but if we persist and do what we can to maintain the vehicle, I think we will get to, proceed in the journey longer or better or whatever, So sort of, I don't know.
Very, very well said. And this is what's meant by keeping your priorities straight. You have to do the physical self-care. You have to care for the vehicle first so that it does not break down in that time when you're stuck on 285. The engine just doesn't give out because it gets overheated or something because you didn't take care to have enough coolant, so on and so forth. So all of that is absolutely necessary, and it is preliminary. But then, having kept your vehicle in good order so that it allows you, as Swayam said, to move from point A to point B, as you make that movement, then you are moving deeper into your spiritual grasp of reality. Thank you, Swayam. Very well said. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankar,
Yes.
about the journey from A to B, I think T.S. Eliot said it very well, that the journey is to go from point A to B and from B back to A and see A for the first time.
Yes. Yes, T.S. Eliot wrote a poem in which that is the featured idea. Very, very powerful poem. I think it's called The Wasteland.
Yeah, wasteland. Yes. restless.
So, thank you, Margaret. Yes, we get
Brother
back to
Shankara?
point A and see it for the first time.
Also, in the journey, some things happen even if we don't really do it. Like, for example, years past, it used to be physical maps. Now there is GPS to help us better. So there is this something that progresses even though we may not be individually responsible.
Well, that's it. That's the creative force, the generative force that is creating and sustaining and destroying, that is transforming, not really destroying, but dismantling so it can be put back in better shape, in better form. As you said, there used to be maps, now there's GPS. This is a transformation. How did it happen? Well, it happened, of course, because of the efforts of a number of people. But those people, as was said earlier, those people aren't really doing the doing. They're just the ones with their hands on the wheel and their noses to the grindstone. Kind of a difficult mixed metaphor, but nevertheless, they do these things, but the transformation comes from that creative, generative aspect of universe, which is what we truly are. And the more we are in possession of that, the more creative and the more joyous and fulfilling our lives will be. This is the experience of many, including this. This is what has happened in this life. Though there's been plenty of obstacles over the many decades since February of 1973, when I first was drawn to Swami Prabhupada. All kinds of things have happened, but the thrust, as is said in a song that was written, that I wrote, he made a new man. He being the divine being, you could say she as well. He made a new man, and he is now here. And that continues to go on. That remaking of yourself continues to go on and expanding. And this is what is the great mystery of spiritual practice, is that there is no end to your self-realization. The being that you are is infinite, changeless, eternal, but can be discovered. That is uncovered by your first physical self-care and then your spiritual self-care. More and more is realized.
Brother Shankara, this is Jeff Solich.
Yes, please.
I'd like to.
Yes, Jeff.
I'd like to suggest a way that we can connect the dots in the metaphor that we're using this morning.
Yes.
Perhaps the scriptures of the world are the maps, the old-fashioned way to get around from point A to point B, but the techniques and instructions you receive from your guru, that's the GPS. That's the better way to go.
Very well said.
That's all I have.
Yes, indeed. That's what was meant earlier when I said to us that given everything, when you've been given this mantra and these instructions, all of Sri Ramakrishna's spiritual power, grace, and capacity for fulfilling the truth of your being is in that mantra. All of it, without any exception. All of it is there. This is what Sri Chaitanya meant when he said, chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, raging furiously within. O Hari, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. And that Hari, moonlight, is just another metaphor for a spiritual practice.
In one word, if I have to put it in one line, one sentence, spiritual practice sustains the soul.
Sustain the soul, yes. The soul is sustained
By spiritual.
on its own by itself, but our knowledge of it and our recollection of the truth of its being as who we truly are, this must be worked at. This is what's meant by sustain. We can't do it sometime this week and a little bit next week. As Cindy said right at the opening,
Yes.
you need to start every day
Yes.
with some quiet, some remembrance, whatever your spiritual practice is. And as she said, if she doesn't do it, she misses it.
Yeah.
And of course, that's true. When you do it, it inflects your entire day.
Yes.
When you don't do it, it also inflects your entire day.
Yes.
Because it's not a sometime thing, the spiritual practice. It is something that over time we see that we're doing every moment.
Yes.
In the decisions that we make, the actions that we take, all of these are the result of the way we began our day.
Right.
And when a day goes completely haywire, it happens. It's because we didn't have what it takes, which is not a bad thing. It's just a thing. We didn't have what it took to keep it from going haywire. It's not called Mahamaya for nothing. Very powerful. And our power is not a counterforce against Mahamaya. It's a way of integrating the truth behind Mahamaya into our reality. Thank you, Uma, as always. Anything else from anyone?
Shankara,
Yes, dear.
it's so good to see you here with us. I'm so very grateful.
Yes.
And I just have a question, or would you like to talk some about how to become more wholehearted in our spiritual practices?
How to become more wholehearted? Well, you've answered your own question, Lori. The answer is to wish for that to be the case. Our every thought is a prayer. So when we wish to be more wholehearted and we repeat our desire, when we say to the divine being, however it is that we conceive of the divine being, grant me this wholeheartedness, grant me this determination, grant me this courage. That is the source of all being. And so we slowly and slowly are able to manifest that And so that wholeheartedness, nothing happens immediately, or very few things. Swami Prabhupada asked if things could happen overnight as they did with Scrooge. And he said, yes, oh yes, but it is very rare indeed. So for most of us, because of our eons of being and all that this Stardust spacesuit has learned about how to cope with reality, that is, of course, a way of being, but it doesn't lead directly. It leads indirectly and ultimately to realization. This is what all the scriptures tell us. No one will be left out. All will become realized. But how quickly? How quickly? If we ask, as Laurie said, for this wholeheartedness, then that wholeheartedness arises. But it has to overmaster over a period of years all of our learned habits from our many, many, many lifetimes. Vivekananda speaks about this so eloquently in his talk, The Real and the Apparent Man. How old we are, and what that means in terms of our embedded habits and our embedded way of coping with being incarnate, which is a mystery in itself, isn't it? I mean, why are we incarnated beings? Again, as Swami Sarvadevananda says, the mother's intentions are impenetrable. We can't say she did it for this reason or that reason. We simply can't say that because we don't know enough. We can only experience the truth of it in a more and more fulfilling fashion through our spiritual self-care. Anything else from anyone? This is exactly what we should be doing, is having this kind of collaboration and discussion of these ideas.
Thank you so much, Shankara.
You bet, dear. And as has been said, Laurie just remarked on it again, how good it is for us to be back together. It has been a long time coming.
Yes.
Since the accident that took me to the hospital and all that has ensued. But here we are. And within a foreseeable time, I'll be back at the center. But even before then, as I said, our Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday classes will go ahead on Zoom, and the Sunday talks will continue. So just watch. We know what our Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday classes are. Tuesday, we're studying the Gospel. Wednesday, we're studying the Gita. And on Saturdays, we're studying how to know God. And then just keep your eye on your newsletter or or the website, and it'll be posted what the Sunday talks topics will be. How are we doing for time? What time is it?
Should be.
Who has the time?
Nobody wants to
12:07.
say.
Oh, yeah,
Nobody wants
forget
to
it.
say. Nobody wants this to end.
Okay, well, let's not end it then. Let's not end it. If there's something that wants to be said, please say it. Speak up. This is the great current of unity that underlies the appearance of manyness. Whether you're speaking or not speaking, we're hearing you. But if you wish to participate in the collaboration that is this class, then what is it that you'd like to say? Or what is it you'd like to hear more about? As Lori just asked, speak more about such and such.
Personally, brother, Gaurav here, I have missed your grace, and I thank Mother to for helping you get back to your best. She's helping you for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Anything else that anyone would like to hear more about that we've spoken about?
Brother Shankar,
Yes, Bhagavan.
you know, the way you have treated this very, very difficult situation, your spirituality has helped you a whole lot. And we have witnessed that. We have learned from that one. At appropriate time, it might help us also. But my question, did you have any low points? And how did you handle your low points? Because that's the kind of help.
You mean during this time that since the injury?
Yes, yes.
Ah, did I have a low point? Oh, yes. When I was in the hospital, this is one of the conversations with Swami Sarvadevananda, who is, by the way, for those of you who don't really know him, he has now become a face of the eternal teacher. You know, the eternal teacher takes these swamis and fulfills their ability to speak on behalf of the eternal teacher. So yes, I just thought, you know, my question was, why? How can this be? This hip fracture, having to go to the hospital, have it be repaired, all the ensuing therapy, and being at Brookhaven, all that stuff. And in one way or another, Sarvadevananda's answer always was, we cannot know. We cannot know why these things happen, but it is for our betterment. Somehow it is for our betterment. We've talked about that, what the Holy Mother said, what others have said. No one is without error. This is what Christ was alluding to when he said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone at this woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. No one is without error. Even Sri Ramakrishna said that there have been errors. So we cannot expect and should not expect of ourselves to be error-free in our thinking. But when we receive instruction that lets us know a better way to think about it, then we should accept that as best we can and try to make that a reality for ourselves, which is only possible by our gratitude and understanding that that which is offering it to us means it only and always and ultimately for our well-being.
Yes.
Brother Gaurav again, can I say something?
Please.
I almost feel the more we pursue, more we pursue spiritualism and pursue the divine mother or divine father, uh, it kind of gives you an idea. It kind of gives you that objective view of your life where you realize that you're only looking at a snapshot of your life, like a very tiny little snapshot, because we are always thinking through our body and think that okay, this lifetime, but lifetime in a divine realm is a different thing altogether. It's infinite, and we are just looking at like however long we live, like 80 years, 90 years. That is like minuscule. So
Yes.
to know why things happen, gotta let it go, I guess, no matter how hard it is.
We certainly can't understand cosmic time,
Yes.
as Dora was pointing out. There's no way for us to relate the length of time that we exist as this incarnation to the infinite, the eternal. I mean, we don't even understand those words. Of course we don't.
Exactly.
So all that we can do is the understanding, the intellectual understanding will never come. But the spiritual understanding comes, and it cannot be put into words. This has been said over and over and over
Yes.
by many people who participate. Tom Carr has said he has realizations, but he can't put them into words. And he practices meditation a great deal. So we have these realizations as we dive deep within. But the realizations are not intellectual. They don't fit into thought concepts. They're simply a deeper and fuller and more gratifying and satisfying
Yes.
understanding of who we are. So we go forward on that basis, little by little, little by little, little by little.
Yes.
Swami Sri Dharananda said, he said it so well. The mind is preoccupied. It is not easy to make it behave. But he says, if we keep after it happens. So, and these are his exact words, slowly and slowly and slowly, my dears. He calls everyone my dears.
And once I feel like you taste that little tiny drop, the nectar of bliss,
That whenever we get impatient, that in itself is just another form of distraction. Or it's just an intellectual, why can't I go faster? Exactly. Well, as Swayam was pointing out earlier, if you take that car that you're riding in this Stardust spacesuit, and you try to make it go faster and faster, well, not only are you likely to be pulled over by the authorities, and that has its spiritual correlation also. But you'll wear out you just wear out the machine faster. And you need the machine in order to sustain your spiritual practice. You need the machine. That's why somehow it was given to you, so that you could do this.
Yes.
Anything else, dear?
Hey, brother Shankara, I might be able to make it to Decatur this afternoon. Will you be available for a visit?
Sure.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Look, just come anytime.
Okay.
So I think the term in the gospel was divine discontent, or, you know,
Yes.
so how do we distinguish between impatience and divine discontent?
Impatience is a thing of the mind. Divine discontent is a thing of the heart. Impatience is, why can't I make this happen more quickly? Divine discontent is, this is achingly slow, but I understand that it must be that way. It doesn't, but that divine discontent is empowering. It keeps us focused. If you're discontent with a situation and you do nothing about it, your discontent will do nothing but grow. So that divine discontent is a motivator for you to move ahead with your spiritual practices. And that is an absolute necessity if you're going to overcome what it is that is causing you the discontent. But impatience is a thing of the mind. And we know it in so many circumstances. I personally am an impatient person. I'm constantly fretting against this. And it annoys other people that interact with me. This impatience, this intellectual everyday world impatience. But it's
Brother Shankara, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're frozen.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
hear
concerned. I'm
frozen.
concerned.
It's been good all morning until now.
He's tired now.
I think we actually lost him.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we lost.
His internet at Coventry Place is not all that strong shared by everybody on his floor. So I can imagine Sunday about this time, everybody's logging onto their computers. So, yeah,
Nothing is wrong with him, right?
no.
Would it work better if he used his phone as a hub? Would that give him a better speed?
Well, it might. That's how I first got him connected, but he has trouble reconnecting it.
Oh,
And this stays connected. The
He
internet.
might not be able to see his phone good enough to do that.
no, that you can use the phone as a hub to your computer.
Yeah, you don't really even need to see the phone. It's going up on your computer to your Wi-Fi and selecting it. It's there, but he can't see well enough to do that.
Oh,
So this is just the easiest way.
yeah.
But
Another possibility could be he could phone in. We wouldn't be able to see him, but he could phone into the Zoom number that.
Well,
We'd miss seeing him.
Yeah, I know, but
he has to initiate the meeting.
Well, hopefully this is only going to be a very short-term problem anyway, if he's able to return next month as expected. So,
amen.
yep.
No, definitely.
Great to see everyone. I'm
It
going
was
to
great to see
say
everyone.
goodbye.
Take care.
Yes, you too.
Enjoy, Ma.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Everybody, see you later. I'll tell brother. Bye.